Hi there, good morning. So yes, I've already mentioned your name. However, we'll need a bit profile. So who are you? Why are you here? A bit profile of that, yes.
Okay, so I'm in the person of Jordan. I work with Young Investors Network, and I'm a project lead. Yes.
So yes.
So I'm also Eldad. I work with the Young Investors Network as a project leader as well.
Yes, so they are all our project leads. So yes, welcome Jordan and then Eldad. So yes, I'll go straight forward, okay? So yes, NIQ started on Tuesday, last week Tuesday. We've seen a lot of prelims and today is the quarterfinals. How has it been? How have you seen NIQ from Tuesday till this day? And do you think the people you were vying for are actually here at the quarterfinals?
Oh, it's been great. I won't lie. I mean, all the schools brought their A game, and you could see from the prelims and all that, right? So far, the best schools have qualified to the quarterfinals. So I just hope the momentum will be kept at a high level, right? So it's been very great.
Eldad says he's hoping that the momentum will be kept at a higher level. So yes, Jordan.
So I might say that from Tuesday till now, it has been like a shocking one. Some schools that you don't expect them to concede defeat are conceding defeat, including my school. So I'm still rooting for other schools.
Jordan, is your school here?
I said my school has conceded defeat.
I just wanted everybody to hear that very well. So yes.
My school is not here.
Jordan's school has been kicked out.
Yes.
Same here. But we are still proud old students of our school.
Yes,
what do you
yes,
think?
yes. I'm a two-time champion, so...
Don't worry,
Yeah,
but me
so-
right now I've changed my school.
Yeah, so no matter what, calm
Yes.
down. I'm a two-time champion. My school is Accra Academy. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm still rooting for the best. I know that like, there are potentials here, and this particular contest is going to be a very fierce one. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Eldad, my next question is, if today's contest we see Corpus, Christi, West Africa, St. Louis, and St. Augustine, do you think it's a very tight competition?
It's a very tight one. You could see West Africa made a statement in the prelims, 91 points, right?
Yes.
No question unanswered. So we are hoping to see whether they can keep up that momentum. Or when they meet the big dogs, of which we are seeing they've met some, it would be quite a contest. So, and St. Louis did well themselves. So we're hoping to see who will come out top. Ultimately, the best should win. Yeah.
Yes, the best should actually win. So yes, Jordan.
So with the 4 schools here, I've seen what they can do, especially with St. Louis. I was in Kumasi and then I saw the wonders they pulled up. So I'm really rooting for them. And then Corpus Christi, actually a good school. I haven't seen their work though, but I think it was on Wednesday or so. Yeah, I saw the kind of magic they pulled up with. Tuesday, the magic they pulled up with. And
They
then
took my school out.
They took your school out. Oh, so sorry. So Augustine's to last year's finalist. So it's going to be a very fierce one. Like it's going to be. I'm really wishing that the best school wins, and then the best school should also go to the semi-finals and then the finals too. Yeah.
All right, so a very quick one. So today 2 schools will be qualifying here. If you had the chance to just pick these 2 schools, which ones would you have just picked that you guys should just go to the semi-finals?
You know, I always select the winner. So I'll select the winner and then the second runner-up.
Okay.
So whoever wins, the first runner-up, sorry. So whoever wins and whoever comes second should go. So
those are the people you were vying for.
Exactly.
That is what Eldad always does.
Yes,
He keeps
yeah.
it until we find the winner and the second runner-up. Jordan, who are you vying for?
So so I'm vying for the winner, like my brother said. But let's say the best 2 schools should just go to the next level. I don't want to pick anybody before I get fights.
Yes, you'll be fine.
Yes.
So yes, they don't want to be placed in any bad spot. So they said they are all vying for the winner. So in case you become winner today, just know that Eldad and then Jordan has been supporting you since you started becoming a winner. Yes. So yes, Jordan, my very last question is, if you have any word of advice to today's contestants, what would it be?
Okay, so what I would say is, each of the contestants coming on stage, just be confident, be sure of whatever you are saying, and then you have it all. Just be confident. The confidence that we need from you. If you are not bold about what you are saying, that is where it begins to be a little bit shaky. But just be confident, be precise, and be concise. And I think you will have a good time on stage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Just be confident and know what you're saying, and you'll be fine on stage. Oh, that.
So I think today I'll be going with Benjamin's advice, right? So from the prelims, I've realized something. In as much as I want you to be confident, please relax. Take your time. Articulate your thoughts. Are you getting me? Before you speak. Because if you realize most of the students, they know what they are saying, but then because they rushed, they're not able to, get their thoughts right. So please, in as much as we want you to be confident, relax. Articulate your thoughts. You have 30 seconds to do that, right? And then speak. Don't just ring the bell and then do you get me? Be confident, but then relax. Thank you.
Oh,
very
that says, yes, be confident. However, relax. Thank you so much, Eldad and Jordan, for joining me within this short section. It has been very great having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The preliminary stage is over. The lights are brighter, and every bell rung now counts double. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the quarterfinal stage of the National Investment Quiz 2025, where dreams of becoming a
So please, St. Augustine's.
Augustine yen until ni papa. Ready? Sing. Augustine yen until ni papa no kwanya meso mosabeni. Ebim Patrick for honenumya aso konko ni chichi ni pa. Augustine yena danfo pa until ni Monica neba tiena so na chichaje amaya fata nyamini jen. Augustine yena danfo pa until ni Monica neba tiena so na chichaje amaya fata nyamini jen.
Thank you so much, St. Augustine's language. Thank you so much to all the schools. So yes, before we actually invite all our contestants to actually come on stage, we would have a very short presentation from Master Promise, who is from ACC, to give us a short presentation. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, my name is Promise Ahovi from ACCA. Do we all know what ACCA is? Oh, really? Not even a single soul? Should I put a price on it? How much? So you know what ACCA is? Okay, all right. So ACCA is the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. So now you know what it is. Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. Have you ever wondered who manages your money or who makes financial decisions in institutions or help businesses grow? Let me break it down. Whose mother has a shop here? Okay, let's use you as an example. So let's say Kwame's mother has a business, a shop that she sells provision shops. So who manages the money that comes into that business? Her mom does. So in that scenario, her mom is the accountant. So ACCA, as a professional body, produces accountants for the world, not just in Ghana, but the whole world. What do we want you to do? Wherever 2 or 3 people are gathered, there is money. So even in this room, people have money. So if I want us to contribute, whoever keeps that money becomes the accountant. So that is what we bring to the table. We produce accountants for the world. Okay? So as students coming from senior high schools now, those of you who have
the preliminary stage is over. The lights are brighter, and every bell rang now counts double. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the quarterfinal stage of the National Investment Quiz 2025, where dreams of becoming a seeded school either rise or fall. You are welcome to the NIQ Vibe Zone. I am your host, Getchude Sanam, and this is a High School Plug TV production. But before we start, I want us to acknowledge our partners and sponsors for the competition. So the National Investment Quiz is brought to you by the Young Investors Network in partnership with the Ghana Stock Exchange, the Securities in partnership with the Ghana Stock Exchange, the Central Securities Depository, and APSA Ghana. Also, we are supported by the Securities and Exchange Commission Ghana. We are also supported by MTN Ghana, Africa Entrepreneurship School, Association of Certified Chartered Accountants, GBAT Online, and then our media partners are High School Plug TV and Joy Business. Today, I have 4 contestants, and there are also 4 schools. They are representing a school who will be competing finals contest 1 for the day. So I have St. Augustine College, I have St. Louis Senior High School, I have Corpus Christi Senior High School, and West Africa Senior High School.
They are going to introduce themselves to us, starting with St. Augustine's College.
So I'm Deku Steven from St. Augustine's College.
Okay. St. Louis?
I'm Odnelaya Raguboedu from St. Louis.
Okay. And
I
then
go by the name Michael Zomelo Azasu from Corpus. Christi.
Michael, I can't hear you. Speak a bit louder.
I go by the name Michael Azasu Zomelo.
Okay.
I'm in the person of Richard Niama from West Africa Senior High School.
So I have Richard, Michael, Brago, and then Stephen. But let me start with you, West Africa Senior High. How has it been for you?
So far, it has been very steady.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yes, so we are hoping that it continues that way. We are trusting in the Lord.
All right. Corpus Christi, how is the feeling?
We are feeling the pressure, but as I said, from pressure comes diamond.
All right. Brago, how is St. Louis Senior High School?
Okay, so I'll take us to church once again.
Okay.
I said that in the olden days,
Yes.
the Israelites went for battle.
Okay.
And Moses, the Lord commanded Moses to lift up his hand.
Yes.
And every time he lifted up his hand,
Yes.
they won the battle.
Yes.
And so we know that the Lord's hand is upon us. And
Okay.
it has been lifted upon us. So
Okay.
definitely we are coming out victorious.
All right. All right. Let me come to St. Augustine's. How is St. Augustine's College doing, and how is the atmosphere treating you?
Okay, so we are doing very great, and then the atmosphere is very good for us. A very competitive atmosphere. We are very courageous and then confident that this will be our day. And then, as our motto goes, Omnia Vicens Labor, perseverance conquers all, and then we will conquer today.
All right. Perseverance conquers all. Last year, you were finalist.
Yes, please.
Your grades for winning wasn't that high. It was within the range of 40s, if I can clearly recall. But coming now from the preliminary stage, we've realized some high marks, especially with West Africa Senior High School. I think they were also quarterfinalists last year. Unfortunately, they were knocked out. But this time, they got 91 from the preliminary stage. We had Corpus Christi placing second in their contest with 68.5, and also St. Louis with 73. All these marks are higher than the scores you got last year. Does that put any pressure on the team?
No, not at all. First of all, I'll start off by congratulating the schools for making impressive runs coming into this stage. But then I would like to make this clear that with points, grabbing up points, the dynamics.
Okay.
So they are coming from the prelim stage. It's a much more easier stage compared to the stage in which we are in now. And then also, unlike last year, some more stages, some more rounds have been added, and then questions have been added to the contest this year.
Yeah.
So making the tendency for marks to increase go high. So
all right.
I understand the fact that their marks this year are higher than that of ours last year, but
yes,
it doesn't define the fact that it doesn't define and then doesn't show that they would take the contest.
Do you think that you are still the chairman here?
Still win this.
Yes, you're chairman.
Yes.
But what is the winning strategy today?
As for strategy, I think it's a bit confidential, so I won't be.
But telling us one wouldn't be that bad.
I would say we are just going all out. So we are confident in it.
You are confident.
Yes, please.
All right, let me go to St. Louis. St. Louis, you were quarterfinalist last year as well. Fortunately, you were knocked out. This year, you started on a good feet with 73 points. What should we look forward to today?
A wise man once said, success occurs when opportunity meets preparation. And I believe that we are duly prepared. So everyone should watch out because we are bringing our A game and we are definitely winning.
But is there any most important strategic adjustment that your team have done recently towards today's contest?
We are just going to be confident on stage and then bring out the answers as it is.
Okay, let me go to Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi, I always say you are the newbies in the competition. This is your first time, and you've also started really well with 68.5, I guess, in your first contest. This time, you are meeting quarterfinalists from last year and also finalists from last year contest. Does it bring any kind of nervousness to the team?
No, it does not. Because
Okay.
you know we are prepared very well.
You're prepared very well.
In fact, what this does is it pushes us past our limits. So we are confident.
So what should we be looking out for today in your contest?
Perfect execution.
Perfect execution.
Yes.
Who are you executing?
I'm going to execute our answers. Perfect.
All right. Let me go to West Africa Senior High School. West Africa, you are the school that have got everybody talking. You got 91 from your first contest. Today, what is the strategy?
Well, today it's nothing new. We'll just work together as a team.
Okay.
And then trust in the Lord.
Trusting the Lord.
Yes.
So for you, it's teamwork today. Just teamwork.
Yes, just teamwork.
We shouldn't expect anything new.
Oh.
No surprises.
Oh, we are just going to do better than we did before. For that one, I'm positive about that.
But with St. Augustine's being finalist of last year, does it bring any pressure?
Oh, no, it doesn't bring any pressure.
It doesn't bring any
No
pressure. What about St. Louis?
Nah,
You are not afraid of them?
we are not afraid of anyone.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Let me come to Corpus Christi before we move on. Your team came second in the preliminary stage, right? At a point, it was difficult for you guys. What is the strategy you guys have put together to stand pressure if at any point in the competition pressure picks in?
One thing I always say is
Because you know you are fighting against experienced people.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what is the
you
strategy?
have to learn to withstand pressure because you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And it's from those situations that winners are born. So we have learned it. This was our first time. We stood it. One thing we realized was that our teamwork was a little bad, but we are prepared and we are going to execute, as I said, perfectly.
Perfect execution. But is there any one moral lesson
Also
or
protest, if you have any? Thank you so much. Quizmaster, over to you.
Okay, let's give it up to our reps for St. Augustine. Okay, let's give it up to our reps for St. Augustine's College. St. Louis Senior High School, all the way from Kumasi. Let's hear from you.
I'm Emmanuel Lankansa, and I'm expecting nothing but the best.
Nothing but the best indeed.
I am Esther Jikunu.
Okay, let's get up to St. Louis Senior High School. West Africa Senior High School. Let's hear from you.
I'm Benson Maxwell. Eric Asari Khan.
Okay, let's get up to West Africa Senior High School. Corpus Christi Senior High School.
My name is Jose Antonio.
Michael Zomelo.
Let's get up to Corpus Christi High School. Before we start, we want to go through the rules of the contest. Our reps, please listen carefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the quarterfinals.
The contest is divided into 5 rounds. Each round will test contestants' ability to provide answers within a set time frame. Coaches and trainers are advised to desist from whispering or signaling access to contestants. This will lead to disqualification. The match will not be awarded. Whisper answers. If you have grievances to address, coaches, you need to see the consultants. You are not permitted to walk up stage to launch a protest. Round 1 will be stock simulation. And I'm told you're already aware what is expected of you. In round 3, we'll have investment advisory. And so you'll be given a practical case study to provide responses to zooming yourself as investment subjects. Round 5A will give you statements relating to investments, economics, the capital markets. And you are expected to provide a true or false response. In round 5, B, we'll have riddles going to all schools at the same time. You ring your bell and then take the question. Before every round, I will read the detailed rules for that particular round. Before we start, please note that this contest is an initiative organized by the Young Investors Network in partnership with the Ghana Stock Exchange, the Central Securities Depository, and ACCA Bank. The session is not just about answering questions. It is also about deepening your understanding in financial literacy and strengthening the knowledge you need to navigate the world of finance as young people. That said, let's get ready for an exciting, educative, and impactful contest. For round one, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High School, you have 10 seconds to respond to a main question. For a bonus question, you would have 5 seconds. And after the 10 seconds, if you want to go for the bonus, you ring your bell. If you provide the answer without ringing your bell, you would not be awarded the points. On that note, let's hear the bell of Corpus Christi Senior High School. Please take notes, audience. Thank you, West Africa Senior High School, St. Louis Senior High, and then St. Augustine's College. Okay, thank you very much, reps, for our contesting schools. You have 6 questions each for this particular round. Now let's start with Corpus Christi Senior High School. What is custody? And explain why modern custody goes beyond safekeeping of physical securities.
Custody is the safekeeping of securities of clients. Custody goes beyond safekeeping because custodians can do other, can perform other acts such as securities lending and others.
For your effort, I'll give you 2 out of 3. I expected you to mention some specific functions that custodians perform, which includes settlement, cash, money,
and the seller, who ensures that transactions facilitate smoothly. And then with the role of institutional investors, they are...
So for the second part, the broker allows the
Time up, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
You got the first... Oh, they continue. Okay. Then timekeeper, please take notes. Once they are speaking, allow them to finish to avoid confusion. Yeah. They can still continue speaking. Okay. So on that note, I'll give you that advantage to continue on.
So the investor is supposed to use both the custodian and the broker because the broker allows the custodian to be able to purchase securities on the financial market. The custodian performs the function of safeguarding the securities of the investor.
That is correct for 3 points for West Africa Senior High School. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. Why is collateral essential in securities lending? And what risk does it mitigate?
Collateral is essential in security lending because if the other party fails to oblige with his obligation, which is to pay back the money after the period ends, the collateral will be taken in place of the security, and it is necessary because it saves credit risks.
Okay, I'll give that to you for 3 points. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. What is a manufactured payment? And explain why it is needed in securities lending.
So manufactured payments are the payments that are made by the borrower of the securities from the custodian. Now, this payment is made to compensate the owner of the securities for the time in which he doesn't have his assets. This is a percentage of an amount of money that is paid, and usually it helps avoid the owner of the assets to become unrested or agitated.
That is correct for 3 points, St. Augustine's College. Next round of questions, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High School. Explain why custodians must maintain liquidity when they reinvest cash collateral.
Custodians must maintain liquidity when they reinvest cash collateral because it's essential for the custodian to maintain the liquidity so that in case he wants to perform functions such as another securities lending.
Going to West Africa Senior High School. What is record keeping in custody? And explain why customized reporting is essential.
So, record keeping in custody refers to the process whereby custodians keep records or take into account financial activities that they undertake on behalf of their clients. So they record the securities that are in their possession and then activities that they take or undertake on behalf of their clients. So what is the latter part? So it is important in custody because it allows the investors to have a clear view of how their securities are being managed and under the custodial services of the custodian. And it allows them to see the transparency in the activities of the custodian.
I'll give you 2 out of 3 for that effort. I was specifically looking out for one particular clue. That is that they require formats for regulatory compliance in investment decisions, for regulatory compliance. That aspect was not highlighted in your response. So you were fortunate to 3. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. Explain why settlement occurs after trade execution. Why custodians and not brokers handle settlements.
Settlement occurs after trade execution because after both the buyer and the seller have agreed to trade, they have to make the corresponding transfer of the security and the money. And the reason why custodians do it and not brokers is because brokers only handle the buying and the selling. They do not go into the transfer of the securities, but custodians do go into the transfer of the securities.
Very correct for 3 points. St. Louis Senior High School. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. What is corporate action? And explain why failure to process them increases custodian liability.
Corporate action is simply any action that by the firms or companies that affect their operations and their security prices, as well as shareholders. And also, basically, this action is required by law for the firm to record because this shows investors or shareholders how the firm is doing, since these are actions that affect their performances.
I'll give you 1.5 out of 3 for that effort. Okay. Next round of questions. Starting with Corpus Christi Senior High. What is a global custodian? And explain why it relies on sub-custodians in many markets.
A global custodian is a custodian who provides safekeeping services for international clients and in remote areas. And they basically have different organizations in different organizations or branches in different countries, so they can be able to provide safekeeping across different countries. This helps transactions to be taken no matter the place an individual is in, and increases liquidity in the market.
I'll give you 1 out of 3 for that effort. Specifically, you were expected to highlight the fact that a global custodian offers multiple markets custody across 100 plus countries, and that they use sub-custodians in the various jurisdictions in which they operate to avoid having to set up infrastructure in every jurisdiction in which they operate. Next question, going to West Africa Senior High. What is legal risk particularly relevant for collateral? Why is legal risk particularly relevant for collateral in custody arrangements?
So, legal risks. This refers to the risks that is associated to a custodian as a result of not having knowledge about the rules or the laws governing the particular financial market in which he or she operates. And why it's relevant for collateral in security is that when custodians consider the laws and standards in the capital markets, they're able to cope and then abide by all the standards. And in this case, they are not being prone to risk that might affect their services.
I'll give that for 3 points. Next question, going to St. Louis Senior High School. What is operational risk in custody? And explain why it is often more damaging than market risk.
Operational risk is a risk that is associated with the operations of the company. This is where the operations or the systems of the company do not go as planned. And the reason why it's more dangerous than market risk is because operational risk can distract the whole business process without bringing any value to the investment. And it can make the client lose. It can increase the turn downs of the clients, downturns of the clients.
I'll give you 2 out of 3 for that effort. I was expecting a key point, and that is that operational risk is more damaging because custody failures affect ownership accuracy. Difficult to determine who owns what when operational risk occur. That was not highlighted. Next, going to St. Augustine's College. Explain why custodians face financial risk, even though they do not invest client assets.
Financial risk is the risk that occurs when the financial manager of the asset or the firm does not operate or does not perform as he's supposed to. And so as a result of this, and also when the client fails to make necessary payments to the custodian. Now this can cause disruptions with the operation of the financial manager or the custodian who is in charge of managing the assets?
I'll give you 1 out of 3 for that effort. You are not expected to define financial risk. The highlight of the question: explain why custodians face financial risk. Custodians face financial risk because if clients fail to meet obligations, cash deficits for settlement, the custodian may be forced to finance the shortfall. Right? So for your effort, I give you 1 out of 3. The 4th round of questions, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High School. What is contestability of collateral? And explain why it is a major legal risk. What is contestability of collateral? And explain why it is a major legal risk.
Contestability of collateral is the problem that arises when a collateral is not enough to provide security for a loan that has been taken. And it provides legal risk because if an individual defaults paying his or her obligations.
I'm sorry, I will not take that from Corpus Christi. Okay, which school is that? That's St. Augustine's College.
So contestability over collateral is when the borrower of the security and the lender of the security fight over who owns the security. So this is a major legal risk because it affects the operations of the custodian and also causes losses to the custodian due to poor documentation of the documents and can also end up ruining the reputation of the custodian.
I'll give you 1 point, a bonus for that. St. Augustine's College, a bonus of 1. Next major question going to West Africa Senior High. Explain why regulatory compliance forms part of operational risk in custody.
So regulatory compliance forms part of operational risk in custody because the failure of a firm to comply with regulatory requirements may lead to failed internal operations because they will fail to oversee their internal operations if they don't comply with the regulatory requirements set in the jurisdiction in which they operate. So the regulatory compliance, so they may fail to comply with regulatory standards that will oversee their internal operations and then make sure that they operate efficiently. So this will lead to operational failures or failed internal operations of the company.
Okay, I'll give you 1.5 out of 3 for that effort. So you highlighted the operational risk aspects, but we also want to hear about the fact that penalties can result, litigation may also come about when a firm fails to meet reporting requirements. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. Why are custodians typically banks? And how does that affect their risk profile?
Custodians are typically banks because they have been certified by SEC and by the Company Act, and the reason why it does not affect them is because it's because, yes, they have the facilities to accommodate the depositories they receive.
Okay, I'll give you 1.5 out of 3 for that effort. So it is true banks maintain robust operational structure to be able to keep securities safe, right? But the second part, you could not get it very well. How does that affect their risk profile? This exposes custodians to the same systemic banking risk, credit liquidity, and regulatory risk. That was not highlighted. So 1.5 out of 3 for St. Louis Senior High School. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. What is dematerialization? And explain why securities cannot be reconverted to paper certificates.
Dematerialization is the immobilization of paper certificates into an electronic format. This cannot be recorded because when the securities are dematerialized, they become electronic form and are then stored with the central securities depository for safekeeping and hence cannot be converted back into paper form.
That is very correct for 3 points. St. Augustine's College. The 5th round of questions in this session, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High School. What is a book entry transfer? And explain why it enhances market integrity.
Book entry transfer is the recording of security transfers, and it helps keep a record of all securities that have been transferred within a given period of time to enhance transparency and trust in the market.
I'll give you 2 out of 3 for that effort. To Corpus Christi Senior High. It is the electronic movement of securities between accounts. It eliminates fixed certificates, reduces settlement time, and ensures accurate ownership of records. We didn't highlight the facts of fixed certificates or eliminating fixed certificates and then reducing settlement time. Next question going to West Africa Senior High School. Why does the CSD play a critical role, even though it is not a party to securities transactions?
So the CSD plays a critical role, even though it's not a party to securities transaction, because it holds the assets of individuals and then is responsible for transferring the assets of the individual to the buyer who is buying the assets of the individual whose assets he holds. So he ensures that the settlement process is efficient, and then he also ensures that there is no counterparty or credit risk in the transaction of the securities during the settlement process. So he acts as a central counterparty, or he acts as a counterparty that ensures that securities are transferred between parties.
I'll give you 2 out of 3 for that effort. I particularly wanted you to highlight the fact that without a CSD, ownership transfer cannot be validated or finalized. That was missing in your response. For your effort, you get 2 out of 3. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. Why do CSDs adopt a central counterparty model?
ESD adopts a central counterparty model because the central counterparty acts as a mediator between the buyer and the seller. So the buyer transfers the money to the CSD, and the seller transfers the security to the CSD. Then the CSD, acting as a mediator, transfers it respectively onto the buyer and the seller. The buyer gets the security, and the seller gets the money.
I'll give you 1.5 for your effort. A key highlight I was expecting, in addition to what you said, is the fact that it helps guarantee settlement, even if buyers or sellers default. Unfortunately, that was not highlighted. And so, for your efforts. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. What is securities account? And explain why CSD is stricter than. Let me come again. What is a securities account? And explain why CSD, KYC is stricter than brokerage KYC.
So the securities account records the transactions when clearing and settlement of securities occurs. So this is the account that keeps the entries, the debit and the credit entries. And the reason why the CSD is stricter, the KYC account is less stricter than the CSD account is because why the CSD KYC is stricter than the why it is stricter is because
so the CSD's KYC, that's know your customer, is stricter than the brokerage's KYC, simply because the CSD actually facilitates the movement of securities. And so they have to have accurate data of the people who are involved in the trade. Now the brokerage KYC or the brokerage institution is basically facilitating or serving as an intermediary between the buyer and the seller of the security. So this brokerage institution just buys and sells. So it doesn't really need intense or extreme data of the cost of the clients which are involved in the transaction.
I'll give you 1 out of 3. The correct response by the consultant. A securities account records all holdings electronically. CSDs manage national ownership databases. Errors or fraud here affect the entire market, requiring high due diligence. And so if they compromise on their functions, it affects the trust system, which is required to keep the system running. The last round of questions in this particular round. Coming back to Corpus Christi Senior High School. Explain why corporate actions processed by the CSD require strict timelines.
Corporate actions, as explained earlier, are the various actions or the various processes. I didn't even hear the question. They are required because it helps ensure transparency and helps institutions to judge whether they are performing in line with their duties or how their performance is. Corporate action helps institutions or individuals to be able to express their views on actions.
Sorry, I'm not taking that. Bonus going to St. Augustine's College.
This is important because corporate actions affect the prices of securities and securities itself, which occurs in the clearing and settlement process. So when these corporate actions are not made clear, they make the clearing and settlement process difficult. And all these promotes transparency, accountability, and also promotes the efficiency of the clearing and settlement process.
That is correct for 1 point. St. Augustine's College. Next major question going to West Africa Senior High School. Why is confidentiality central to CSD operations?
So confidentiality is very essential to CSD operations because, first of all, confidentiality refers to the process of safekeeping a client's personal information, and then ensuring that it stays where it is supposed to be, and then it ensures that the integrity of the Central Securities Depository is upheld. So confidentiality is very essential because it ensures that the integrity of the capital market is protected and then prevents the information of clients to go out public without their information.
That is correct for 3 points. West Africa Senior High School. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High. Explain why a rising broad market index often precedes economic growth. Explain why a rising broad market index often precedes economic growth.
A rising market broad index measures the total value of the market. So the reason why it ensures economic growth is because it exceeds economic growth is because when the market is rising, when the market is rising, it's being calculated at that end. And what if at the time that the economy was being calculated, it wasn't the time that the economic growth was being calculated, the rise of the market wasn't calculated at the same pace. So yes.
I'm sorry, I will not take that. Okay. A bonus to St. Augustine's College.
So generally, stock exchange serve as a leading economic indicator. This is the case where high prices or a general increase in the price of shares precedes economic growth. This is because when the companies perform especially well, they increase their productivity and can increase the wages of their employees, which in turn all contribute to the growth of the economy.
That is correct for 1 point to St. Augustine's College. Now your main question, St. Augustine's College. Explain why cross-listed companies like ETI are excluded from some JSE indices.
Cross-listed companies like ETIs are excluded from GSC indexes because cross-listed companies are companies that are listed in the Ghanaian market as well as firms from abroad. So some indexes such as the GSC Financial Stock Index records only companies of the financial.
That brings us to the end of round 1. Let's give it to our contestant schools for that wonderful performance. We wait on our score master for the scores for this particular round. Now back to you, Corpus Christi. How has it been for round 1? How did it go for you?
It's been tough, but the following rounds will be better.
The following rounds will be better. Indeed, it will get better with time. West Africa Senior High School, how has it been in round 1?
It was a fierce contest, and we are expecting that by the grace of God, we face our opponent and win, because victory is what we cherish.
By the grace of God, and hopefully the grace is available to to all contesting schools. Our ladies, all the way from St. Louis Senior High School. How has it been in round 1?
It has been good.
It has been good. It's as simple as that. It has been good. St. Augustine's College, all the way from Corpus. How has it been?
Please, it didn't go as we expected, but we believe that with God all things are possible.
With God, all things are possible. Scoremaster, please, do we have the scores for round 1 before we proceed to round 2? Case study analysis. Hello? Hello? I think the battery has a problem. Hello? Hello? The lights? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you for the Mura St. Augustine's College supporters. At the end of round 1, Corpus Christi Senior High School had 8 points. Let's give it up to them for that wonderful performance. St. Louis Senior High School, 11 points. West Africa Senior High School, 14.5 points. St. Augustine's College, 15.5 points. Let's give that to our contestant schools for that wonderful performance. Now, round 2. Please listen to the instructions carefully. Round 2 will involve case study analysis. Questions will contain simple cases relating to investments, relating to economics, and relating to the capital markets. Contestants are to provide an answer based on 4 possible options. Each school will have 6 rounds of questions. Note, there will not be any bonus for this particular round. First question, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High School. The options I have here are a bit different from the instructions. And so, per the instructions, we're supposed to have options. But it happens that we do not have options. produce the answer. I'm sure we all have empty sheets to do some calculations. You want extra sheets? Okay. Please, can we get an extra sheet for St. Augustine's College? Okay, thank you. You have 10 seconds to respond to a question. Inflation rises to 12%, but a fixed income fund returns 8%. Now the question: what type of mutual fund should a young investor pick to preserve real value in this situation?
An investor should use an equity mutual fund. This is because the equity mutual fund invests in shares and equities that
are primarily listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Hence, they have a higher chance of giving a higher return than inflation.
The case here is that equities normally outpace inflation.
Okay, so that is correct for... So in this case, you go for either a balanced fund or equity fund. Because you invest in debt securities, the returns may be lower than inflation, in which case the real return will be negative. Next question, going to West Africa Senior High School. A beginner invests a 6-month savings into an equity fund, but markets fall by 15%. Question: what mistake did the beginner make?
So the beginner concentrated all her investments into one asset class, which means that she didn't diversify her investments across various asset classes to reduce the failure of losses as a result of the only sector failing to provide the results in which she expected her investments to gain. So she invested in only one stock, which is the equities of a company, which failed as a result of market downturn. So she didn't diversify across various asset classes to capitalize on the returns from the various asset classes.
I'll give you 1 out of 3 for that effort. So the consultant particularly wanted you to highlight that there is a mismatch or possible mismatch between investment horizon and fund risk profile. So for a beginner, you go for more safer securities rather than more volatile securities like equity investments. Next question, going to St. Louis Senior High School. A fund earns 12%, but NAV, net asset value, increases only 10%. Question: what is the expense ratio?
The expense ratio is 2%.
That is correct for 3 points for St. Louis Senior High School. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. A fund has beta equals to 1.5. Question, what does this mean?
This means that the fund is more volatile than the market since it has a beta of more than 1.
That is partly correct, right? So specifically, we wanted you to highlight that it is 50% more volatile. And so for your effort, I give you 1.5 out of 3. So if it is 1, it means the investment has the same volatility as the markets, right? If it's 1.5, it means there's an excess of 50%, and you didn't highlight that. Next round of questions, starting with Corpus Christi. A balanced fund shifts allocation from 60% equity, 40% bonds, to 40% equity and 60% bonds.
Can you take the question again?
Please listen carefully. This is the last time. A balanced fund shifts allocation from 60% equity, 40% bonds, now to 40% equity, 60% bonds. Now the question, what's the impact?
The impact in this case is that she has done portfolio rebalancing. Hence, she has reduced risks by removing a large percentage from equities which have high risk and putting it in bonds which are low risk but can give steady income. So she has reduced the risk in her portfolio whilst channeling it into steady income.
Okay, I'll give you 2 out of 3 for that effort. Okay, so by reallocating in favor of debt security, which comes with lower risk and lower return, what you are doing is to minimize risk, but it will also come with lower return. The higher the risk, the higher the return. Usura, undi. Okay, so the lower expected return aspect was not highlighted. And for that effort, you get 2 out of 3. Next question going to West Africa Senior High. NAV, net asset value, rises from 5.2 Ghana cedis to 5.72 Ghana cedis in 1 year. Question, what is the annual return?
So the annual return on the investment is 0.0.6, it is 0.70, sorry.
I am sorry, that is very wrong. Okay, so the annual return is the difference over the initial expressed as a percentage. And so that is 5.72 minus 5.2 divided by 5.2 times 100, which gives you 10% and not 0.7 something something. Next question, going to St. Louis Senior High School. A fund receives many investors. AUM rises 40%. Question, what is the potential downside?
Please, the question.
A fund receives many new investors. AUM rises to 40%. Question, what potential downside occurs?
The potential downside is them not being able to, the fund manager not being able to service all their new clients.
I am sorry, I will not take that. So as you receive more investors, bringing in more money, the base becomes very large. And so undertaking efficient asset allocation may become a challenge for the asset manager, depending on his capacity. And so there is difficulty in deploying capital efficiently as your asset base increases. That was the response we were expecting. Next question, going to St. Augustine's College. A 19-year-old wants long-term wealth with high tolerance for risk. Which fund type fits this investor?
So we will recommend equity funds since this is safer, but it invests majority of its investment is in shares. Sorry, we investing in shares since shares will give him higher yield and have the potential for growth, and his risk tolerance is high, and so he's able to accept any losses that may occur. Since stocks are much riskier than the safer bonds. Or
I will give that to you for 3 points. So equity funds are more volatile. They are more risky, but they also come with a higher rate of return relative to debt securities. Yeah. And so you rightly reverse your initial statement to say that equity funds are safer. No, they are not safer. They are risky, but they come with a higher expected rate of return. Next question, coming back to Corpus Christi Senior High School. A fund charges a 1% early exit fee for withdrawals within 6 months. Kweku withdraws 5,000 Ghana cedis in 4 months. Question, what amount does he receive?
He receives 4,995 cedis.
Please come again.
4,995 cedis.
4,095
cedis.
And 95 cedis. Sorry, that is not correct. The correct answer is 4,950 cedis. So 1%. Fee is 1%, right? 1% of 5,000 is 50 Ghana cedis. 10% of 5,000 is what? 10% to be what? So 1%, 10% would have been 500, right? And so 1% is 50 Ghana cedis. And what you take home is the 5,000 minus the exit fee of 1%, which is 50 Ghana cedis. 5,000 minus 50 Ghana cedis is 4,950 and not 4,995. Please, is that okay? Next question. Going to West Africa Senior High School. A fund returns 16% when inflation is 11%. What is the real return on the fund?
5%.
That is correct for 3 points. So the real return is the nominal return minus the inflation rate, which gives us 16%. Next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. Right? St. Louis. A student keeps 1,000 Ghana cedis under her mattress for 2 years when inflation is 15% annually. What is the real value loss?
The real value lost is 150 Ghana cedis of 1,000 Ghana cedis.
Please come again.
The real value lost of 100,000 of 1,000 Ghana cedis is 150 Ghana cedis.
I'm sorry, that is not correct. The correct answer is 244 Ghana cedis in purchasing power. Next question going to St. Augustine's College. Government T-bill yields 20%. A corporate bond yields 23%. Question, what is the risk premium?
The risk premium is 3%. Since government bonds are more riskier than the treasury bills, the investor would expect to gain a return of 3% after taking more risk by investing in the government bonds.
That is correct for 3 points to St. Augustine's College. The 5th round of questions in this round. First question, starting with Corpus Christi Senior High. Amma is planning for her daughter's university fund. She used an expected annual return of 10% over 15 years. After 5 years, average market rates dropped to 5% permanently. Which risk has surfaced, and what is the most direct impact on her financial plan? The question again, and for the last time. Amma is planning for her daughter's university fund. She used an expected annual return of 10% over 15 years. After 5 years, average market rates dropped to 5% permanently. Now the question, what risk has surfaced and what is the most direct impact on her financial plan?
The risk that has been surfaced is market risk. And it's going to reduce the earning potential from 150% to 100%.
I will give you 1 out of 3 for the effort. Even upon second reading, you could not keep the figures. I was talking about 10% and 5%, and you were mentioning 150% and 100%. Okay. So the risk in question is interest rate risk, which is a type of market risk. And so we give you 1 out of 3 for the efforts. Next question, going to West Africa Senior High School. Yao invests 80% of his portfolio in long-term real estate funds that require a 3-year exit period. 6 months later, he needs 50,000 cedis for emergency surgery. Now the question, what risk did Yao fail to plan for, and which mitigation tool should have been used to address this risk?
So the risk Yao failed to address was liquidity risk, which is the risk of not being able to convert your assets into cash as and when needed. And then Yao could have purchased emergency funds to be able to cater for his short-term liquidity needs.
That is very, very correct for 3 points. Next question, going to St. Louis Senior High School. Kofi plans for retirement using an expected inflation rate of 6%. But actual inflation averages 12% for 10 years. Now the question, what is the impact of this risk on his retirement plan in real terms?
Okay. It will erode the purchasing power of his money at the end. So his returns at the end of the 10 years will be less than what it will erode his purchasing power. So the return at the end of the 10 years will reduce in terms of
That is very correct for 3 points to St. Louis Senior High School. His expected inflation was lower than the actual, and so the real return on his investment will fall, which will erode his purchasing power. St. Augustine's College. Ajua, a consultant, builds a 20-year investment plan, assuming that her income will grow by 8% per annum. After 3 years, she loses her primary contract. Now the question, which specific financial planning risk has surfaced and what adjustments must be made?
So the risk is income security risk. Since Adra lost her main source of income, which is the primary contract, so she needs to invest in securities that will guarantee fixed income in order to generate some income for her and use for the investment. Also, she can invest in contingency fund, which could have also protected her from the expenses or unexpected expense that comes with the losses associated with her losing her job.
Okay, that is correct for 3 points. The last round of questions in this particular round. Back to Corpus Christi Senior High School. A diversified equity portfolio loses 30% of its value due to global market volatility. Which type of risk is responsible? And is it diversifiable?
It's market risk and it is undiversifiable.
It is market risk or systematic risk, and it cannot be diversified. Correct for 3 points. Next question going to West Africa Senior High School. Interest rates rise sharply, reducing the value of a client's long-dated bond portfolio. Now the question. Explain how interest rate movements caused this impact.
So, interest rate movement caused this because the bond value is determined by the returns on a bond is determined by the interest rates. So, bond coupon payments are made based on the interest rate at which one purchases the bond. So, if the interest rates rise sharply, the person will receive more returns or interest payments from the bonds, and this will cause bond prices to rise. And it will also
interest rate risks, and then it might be a possibility that the reducing value of the bond would yield lower returns to the investor, because interest rate risk affects the price of bond, and since the price of bond determines the value of the bond, it might definitely.
I'll give you 1 out of 3 for your effort. It is simple. There is an inverse relationship between interest rate and the price of bonds. It is as simple as that. But you were beating about the bush, winding and winding and winding. So as the price of, as the interest rate rises, the price of bonds falls, right? Okay. Next question, going to St. Louis Senior High School. A brokerage firm system crashes during trading hours, leading to massive client losses. Now the question. Identify the risk and give one example of a mitigation strategy.
The risk here is operational risks, and the company's system shutting down, they could have had a backup system that could back it up. So that's a way to mitigate that risk.
That is very correct for 3 points to St. Louis Senior High School. The last question in this round going to St. Augustine's College. A buyer fails to pay the remaining balance after receiving possession of a property. Which risk is this? And who bears it?
So the risk is settlement risk, and the bearer of this risk is the one who sold the land to the buyer.
That is very correct for 3 points, going to St. Augustine's College. And this brings us to the end of round 2. Let's give that to our contestants. One more set. Okay. My timekeeper is telling me that we have gone 5 rounds of questions, and so we will need 1 more round to make 6. Starting with Corpus Christi. In 2022, Ghana defaulted on both domestic bonds and Eurobond payments. Which 2 major risks did investors experience?
Country risk, that's sovereign risk, or and credit risk.
That is correct for 3 points. Sovereign risk or country-specific risk, which will be as a result of buying the sovereign bonds of a given jurisdiction, and then credit risk as well. West Africa Senior High. Government introduces a 20% capital gains tax unexpectedly. Now the question, which risk is this, and how can it affect financial planning?
So since the government imposed 20% capital gains, it will definitely reduce the returns that investors will accrue, because investors, after investing, receive capital gain. And as the government unexpectedly imposed the 20%, it reduced the returns. That is because of the rate at which.
So the risk involved is legal risk.
Yes, the bell went before you came in, right? An answer had been given, so you got one part of the question correct, which is that it reduces the next returns on investments. And so that is 1.5. What type of risk, which is regulatory risk, you did not mention that. So you get 1.5 out of 3 for the effort. Okay, the next question going to St. Louis Senior High School. A client invests in a scheme offering 30% per month and loses everything. Question, which risk has surfaced? And what early signal should the client have noticed?
The early signal is them offering her 30% monthly, and the risk surfaced is what's that? Systematic risks, market risks.
I will give you 2 out of 3 for the effort. So the unrealistically high return promise. If you are being promised a return that is higher than the average return, in Ghana, T-bills are now doing about 10.7%. And so if you are promised 30%, then clearly that is a signal that it could be fraud. And you need to watch out. The last question in this round, going to St. Augustine's College. A bank loses customer data due to a cyber attack. Identify the risk and one suitable mitigation strategy.
The risk is cybersecurity risk, and the implementation strategy is that they can improve their systems or so that they can prevent cyber attacks in the future. So this will strengthen their systems so that hackers will not be able to access their systems and protect customer information.
That is very correct for 3 points to St. Augustine's College, bringing us to the end of round 2. Back to you, Corpus Christi Senior High School. How has it been in round 2 or so far, and what are your expectations for the next rounds?
It's been okay, and we are expecting better.
Expecting better in the subsequent rounds. Next, West Africa Senior High School. How has it been, and your expectations for the next round?
It has been good, and there are more rounds to go, and in God we trust.
In God we trust. Next, St. Louis Senior High School.
It has been good.
As simple as that. It has been good, and God is with you indeed. Next, St. Augustine's College.
Please, as I said earlier, with God all things are possible.
All things are indeed possible. Let's give it up to our contestant schools for those submissions and the wonderful performance. I'm told St. Augustine's want to effect a change before proceeding with round 3. Is that the case? You are not changing. The simulation. Yes, the simulation will be the next. But I thought you signaled that, this one means there is going to be simulation. Is that the protest? Okay. Okay. There is a protest by St. Augustine's College. Regarding the question, a fund has beta 1.5. What does it mean? The coaches are saying it means that the fund is more volatile than the markets, since it has a beta of more than 1. The protest is that the question didn't clearly state that there should be any answer in the form of the percentage as to which the fund is more volatile than the market. Potential marks was given, and we put text for full marks. For the information of the protester, a specific percentage was given. If the question has been, a fund has a beta greater than 1, that probably would not have given a specific point or a specific gap by which the beta for the particular fund exceeds the market average, right? When the volatility of a fund relative to the market average is 1, that means the fund has the same volatility as the average security on the market or the average market return. But in this case, we were given a specific beta, 1.5, which means the volatility in this case for the fund in question is 50%, right, in excess of the market average. And so that is why partial marks were given in this case. I am sure the protester now agrees with me. We can talk more after the round has ended, after the contest. Thank you very much, protester. At least we are all learning. Thank you. Okay. Do we have the scores ready? At the end of round 2, and score master, I guess, this is the accumulated points, right? Corpus Christi had 20 points. Let's give it up to them for that wonderful performance. St. Louis Senior High School, all the way from Kumasi, 22 points. West Africa Senior High School, 24 points. And St. Augustine College, all the way from Cape Coast, 32 points. Let's give that to our contesting schools for that wonderful performance. Now, round 3. Round 3 is stock simulation exercise. The purpose of this round is meant to give students hands-on experience in investing by simulating real-world stock market scenarios. Participants will manage virtual portfolios, analyze financial data, and make strategic investment decisions in a risk-free environment. Now the objectives. You are expected to build financial literacy and understanding of stock markets, develop analytical and critical thinking skills, encourage strategic decision-making and risk management, foster teamwork, healthy competition, and confidence in investing, as well as inspire a long-term investment mindset among young investors. This round, according to the consultant, bridges theory and practice, preparing students to navigate financial markets and make informed investment choices confidently. This is how marks will be allocated or awarded. The team that will be the best performer in terms of returns will be awarded 10 points. The second team, 8 points. Third team, 6 points. The fourth team attracts a score of 4 points if the return on the investment is positive. But if the return on the investment tends to be negative, you will go home with 1 point. The last school. Per what the consultant gave me here, it's supposed to be 1 point for their effort. That is what I have here. Okay. Timekeeper, how many minutes do we have? 15 minutes. Okay. So each school gets 15 minutes to be able to complete the stock simulation exercise. Oh, okay. I'm told for this particular round, the number per team increases to 3. And So the experts join in. Please, let's have you on stage. Are we getting an additional chair so all of them can sit comfortably? Or we agree one of the contestants will stand. Okay. Okay. So if you get tired, you can sit. Then another team member stands up.
Thank you very much, Quizmaster. So this is what we are supposed to do. Most of us know what we are supposed to do. So we are going to reset the system. You create a new account using your school's name. Okay. So you can go ahead and create a new account. Okay, the market is open. You can start now.
Time up, time up, time up. Congratulations to all schools. Congrats all schools. I guess the additional experts, please, you may leave the stage for us to have the two contestants. As we can see from the board, the winner for this particular round is West Africa. So irrespective of your placement, negative is 1. Okay, so consultants, please, next time, let's let the rules be very clear. So from the consultant, once you get negative, irrespective of where you are placed, you get 1 for the effort.